Hey everyone, Stephanie here, coffee drinker, book lover, and reviewer of many things. And today I have a book review for you. So I read Designs to Die For by Jan Fields. This is the first book in Annie's Mysteries Unraveled series. And I have thoughts on this book, but before I tell you my thoughts, the bookmark is stuck. I just put the cover back on. The what's it called? Anyway, um, we're gonna read. I'll read the back to you, and then there's more on the inside cover, um, about this book, but it's very long, so bear with me. Here's the shortened version, if you would like it. Mystery always finds its way to Stevens' door. Kate is a dynamic crochet designer and author in a charming village of Sage Hills, Texas. Is also known for her sleuthing capabilities. Join Kate and her friend as they crochet their way to the solution of each heart-pounding whodunit. There will be danger, adventure, exciting discoveries in every thrilling tale. You'll be on the edge of your seat as Kate and her entourage pursue each clue and find themselves embroiled in spine-tingling new mysteries along the way. Join us to see these mysteries unravel. So that is the little summary for all of the books in the series. It even tells you to go to anniesfiction.com to find the rest of the books. You can find this book on Amazon, and I'll leave a link, of course. But there are a bunch of series of Annies, and this one. Look at the picture. Okay. Designs to Die For. Kate stomps down the aisle between cubicles, throwing open the door to the office. Mr. Betrugen, I think Betrugen is how you say his name. I insist you explain this contract. She froze. The last word stuck in her throat. A huge filing cabinet lay face down on the floor, and Stefan Betrugen body bloody on the floor underneath it. Shoulders barely poked out from underneath. Kate raised a shaking hand to her face and screamed. Kate Stevens moved lock, stock, and barrel from Maine to charming Sage Hill, Texas, hoping to become a household name in the world of crochet design. Instead, she finds herself thrown into a gruesome murder investigation, and she's the prime suspect. Betrugen Publishing in Fort Worth was supposed to be Kate's ticket to the big times. She cleverly parlayed her talents and a column in the popular crochet magazine to a book deal with a powerful publisher. But just when her dream seems to be within her grasp, her contract with Betrugen proves to be nothing but an underhanded scheme to steal her designs. To make matters worse, she decided to confront him directly about his deceitful tacts and stumbles upon a crime scene in his office. Kate's unfortunate timing and obvious disdain for Petrugan lands her at the top of the suspect list. Now she must clear her name, retrieve her designs, and rebuild her fledgling career as an author, and it all starts by smoking out the real killer. As if matters weren't complicated enough, the handsome detective assigned to the murder case turns out to be Peter Matthews, an old flame. Peter warns Kate to stay clear of the investigation, but soon the flames turn to sparks as Kate wholeheartedly ignores his advice. Her spunky neighbor, Vivi Lawrence, and the owner of the Once Upon a Yarn needle shop, Paige Bryant, rally to Kate's side during her crisis. Her friends help her get settled into her new home, and then together they set out to shake up the Lone Star landscape in hope that a murderer will fall out. Jane Fields has penned multiple books in this popular Annie's I can't even talk. Popular Annie's Attic Mysteries and Annie's Quilted Mystery Series. She has also written 16 books for the educational publisher and is working on science fiction series 14. Her short fiction and articles have appeared in a variety of magazine publications. That's about the author. So that part, Paige doesn't really do much in this book. We see her at her shop, and then at the end of the book, we talk to her on the phone. Anyway, let's see what I thought. I know what I thought. Come on. So I realized that I still haven't gone in and marked it in here on my little bookshelf that I read this book. So I'll do that after this, hopefully. But I do believe I checked it. Yeah. No, I haven't even checked it off. Oh my goodness. I finished the book and didn't finish what I was supposed to do. Okay, so anyway, I did write. I used pink because I felt like Kate was a pink person. You know, anyway. Title, Designs to Die For. I'll lean this way so I can put my picture up. Author, Jan Fields. I started this May 16th, 2026, and I finished it June 10th, 2026. I gave this 4 stars. There is no spice in this book. There is talk about bedroom clothes, and there is talk about trying to steal someone's wife. But they don't actually end up doing, like, they don't go into that topic, okay? Would I recommend this book? Yeah, I would, because it was an easy read. Look, most of this I read in like 2 days. It just took me a long time to want to pick it up because the beginning is very, and then, and then, and then, also, and then she thought about it, but she did this first, and then she did this second. I'm just like, okay. But once you got past the beginning of the book, it got better. This is a cozy mystery. I forgot the Y on mystery. Sorry. There are 205 pages, 17 chapters. More by this author. She writes a little bit in Annie's Attic Mysteries. She writes in Annie's quilted mysteries. She writes in, I think she writes more in this series, the Annie Mysteries Unraveled. Victorian Mansion Flower Shop. I think she writes a few in that. And like it said, there are a few children books that she is working on, I guess. My favorite character was Vivi. Um, she was she lived across the street from Kate, and she just like invited herself in the first day when Kate was moving all her stuff in. She's like, "Hey, is anyone here?" And Kate's like, hello." Um, it's really funny. My favorite quote. I need to start by saying Kate was being chased. She tripped on a pothole, tripped in a pothole, and landed really hard on her knees and hands, and got up after the person chasing her fell over her. She got up and ran back the direction she was coming. And first she thought, oh, that looked like it hurt. And then, while she's running, she looks at her hands and sees they're bleeding. Her hands burned and she felt blood dripping off her palms. For a moment she wondered, how long would how long would it have how long the scrapes would have to heal before she could crochet again. But then she almost laughed in half crazed hysteria because that is not the time to be thinking about this. um, a lot of crazy things happen at the end of this book, and I think that's why I gave it 4 stars. If if the funny things didn't happen, it probably would have gotten a lower rating. Um, okay, so Sage Hill isn't a real place. There are streets named Sage Hill. There are apartment complexes named Sage Hill. There is a Sage Hill coffee shop, but that's really far from Fort Worth. You wouldn't drive 3 hours to that place. So I was looking at places around Fort Worth, Texas, because I was like, how cool would it be if this was a real place? And I always like to have an idea of like they never specify how long it took them to get from Sage Hill to Fort Worth to the library or the publishing agency place. And it always just says, and they hopped in the car and drove that way. Um, and so I was trying to calculate, okay, so it's already dark, so it has to be like 9. Like, I was like trying to do the math because this is in Texas in the summertime, or yeah, I mean, like, late summer. So, like, I think at one point they say it's September, August, and she has her windows open, and I'm like, no, no, you wouldn't. If you're from north and you come down here, you would not have your windows open. It would be hot. You would not enjoy it. So the first part of my review is just ranting that Sage is not a real place. I put Sage Hill is not an actual city. There are spas and apartments with Sage Hill in the name, but it's not a real place. I was really excited to read about a place in Texas, but then because I live here, but Sage Hill is not a visitable place. Fort Worth is though, but not the places they talk about. Also, oh, this was supposed to say late. I put last. Also, late summer early fall is not window open season. It is hot, August, September time. Other than that, it was a really good story. Pretty good. Occasionally it got a little first, second, third, then after also, which got a little annoying. But it was an easy read, and trying to figure out the murderer wasn't too hard. But because we had Vivian getting Kate to investigate more than she wanted to. Also, there were a few funny bits and the bantery bits, though the bantery bits got a tad repetitive because she would not listen to Peter. And while Peter felt overbearing, that that's the only word I can think about to describe that. I can understand he was just trying to keep her out of his job. Like, dude, stay in your lane. Um, Side note, they kept bringing up the past, like when she first met Peter, and I feel like that should have been its own book. We should have had that. That should have been book one, how she met him, and then this should have been like, and 3 years later, she moved to Texas, or however long it was. I don't think it was that long. I think it was like a year or two. Because they talk about how, or she thinks about how she met Betrugan, the publisher, at the same event that she met Peter at, and apparently there was a murder at that event, and her group that she was there with kept getting involved. Um, so it couldn't have been that long because Betrugan would have gotten that ball rolling really fast. And I think we should have known that should have been the first book. We should have been like, oh no, he's a slime ball, don't listen to him. And then this book would have been like, oh no, she listened to him. She moved to Texas. Um, because otherwise, the whole backstory between her and Peter is like, did they, like, it says that he talks about how she kept getting in his last case, or the case he was on while she was here last night. And it's like, okay, stop bringing it up if you're not going to give us more information. And it, just going into this book, it felt like their relationship was like forced. Like, she was like, oh yeah, he's cute. And her friend's like, oh, is he a cowboy? Like, and she's like, no, he's a police officer. She's like, same difference. Um, uh, there is a difference, by the way. But it feels like she's not ready for a relationship. And while it's nice to have friends, they could have been friends. They could have been starting off as a friendship instead of, oh, we went on that date. And why didn't you tell me you were back in town? I would have come to see you right away. Well, she was like, well, you didn't call me. A lot of stuff happens in this book, though. She goes to, like it says in the summary, she went to the publishing office and she was like, hey, she went in, nobody would help her. They didn't have a place you couldn't set up a meeting, and there was no front desk. What is it called? Reception. There was no reception area. And so she walks in, and it's just like rows and rows of cubicles of people. And she's like, Excuse me, can you tell me where the office, this guy's office is? And the girl she talks to was like, do you have a meeting? And like she like freaks out a little bit, and then finally she's like, I didn't tell you though. You didn't speak to me. And you find out that like their rules are really strict, and they have to stay in their cubicles, and they have to do certain things, and it's like doesn't sound much of a good workplace. And then she goes in and she's kind about it. She's like, "Hey, I just have a few questions about this." And he like blows up at her, and he's like, "Oh my god, maybe I chose wrong. We don't need." He's like kind of mean to her and like twists around all her words, and she's like, "No, no, no. I just need it explained to me." Like, and he's like, "Well, maybe we don't want to work with you either. You should just go find someone else." And she's like, "No, no, no, no." And she starts to leave, and then she realizes what happened. She's like, "Wait, what?" And so she goes to turn, she finds an empty cubicle and she sat down for a second to collect her thoughts, and then you know, gets up and she goes to walk back in, and a man comes through, and she falls and into someone else's lap. It's kind of this guy's like, "Well, hello," and he doesn't even help her get off his lap. And I'm like, dude, gross. Anyway, um, and so she finally gets up and she walks in and she's like, "You're gonna tell me about this." And then she realizes this guy is dead. And she starts screaming, and people come, and she's like, "Help! Help me get the police are called," all of that stuff. And when Peter Matthews shows up, he's like, "Kate, what are you doing here?" She's like, "This was my publishing company." Or like, they were gonna publish my book, and yeah. You find out through very much research. We do research in the book, and I know some people don't like that kind of book, but you have to have some research, right? Because she's trying to get herself everyone who was at the publishing place is all whisper, like, "Oh, she's the one that murdered him." So, everyone that was there is questioned, and they like pretty much they're all standing around like far enough away, but you can see where you're being questioned. Which I'm like, that doesn't sound professional. Um. Anyway, and every time someone new goes to talk, the police officer that's taking all the notes looks up at her, and she's like, "Oh no," because she was the she went in there to yell at him, and that only means one thing. And then when it's her turn, she's like, there were two other people that came out of his office other than me. And but she's the prime suspect because no one remembers the other ones because they all work like this. Except for when she came through and was like, "Hey, where's the office?" Um, so she does a sketch. She goes to the sketch artist, and she can't remember. She just like because the person that knocked her down before she went, the last person before her, had their head down, and the person was like, "Okay, okay, okay. Well, what part of the man hit your body?" And she's like his shoulder, arm area. Oh, okay, so he's taller than you. Yes, and that's pretty much all they got, and that he had blonde hair, or very light brown hair. And so she's like, "Okay," and she's not gonna investigate. She was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go home and be friendly with my neighbor because we're gonna go and buy stuff and all of that." And when they're out and about, they run, well, she likes one of the bookshelves out of place. It's like this one, probably, because it's very popular. And Vivi is like, together we can totally get this. And she pulls it, and when she pulls it, it knocks into another bookshelf, and then like a bunch of bookshelves start to fall on them. And Kate grabs onto Vivi, and she's backing up with her as they're starting to come down. And she bumps into a table, and she's like, "Oh no, we're gonna get trampled by these bookshelves." And then heavy arms come behind her and pull her and Vivi both back behind the table. And it's this man with dirty blonde hair, and I'm like, it's him. He did it. It was him. Um, and it's really funny because she's like, she notices that he has a nice scent. Sandalwood is what they decide on. And he seems like a really nice guy. And then later, Vivi is like, he must have been looking for furniture too. And she's like, Kate's like, what? Oh yeah, I saw him at like 3 other stores that we went to. Um, and then she gets a buzzard with a knife stuck in it on her porch, and it has a threatening note under it. And then she has some of the furniture delivered. And when she goes to check out where everything is, because Peter Matthews is like, wow, you're really trusting. She's like, what? And he's like, you're just leaving them alone to be in your stuff? And what if they steal something? And she's like, oh, And then she starts to get worried. So she gets up, and they're leaving. And she goes into her office, which had one of the oh, she was getting a table put in, and there in her one of her sketchbooks is books is opened to one of a picture that looks similar to her, and it has a drawing of blood on it and a knife stuck in it. And she's like, um, and it's just one thing after another. And then she starts really investigating. Her and Vivi start going to people who might have information or might have had a grudge with the Trugan. And um 2 times, no, okay, one time she gets there before the police officer. Like he shows up right after her. He's like, "What are you doing here? I told you to stay home." Well, she's like, "I'm trying to do an investigation. I'm helping." He's like, she's like, "They'll talk to me before they talk to you. You're a police officer." And he's like, "You can stand behind me." And then they go to another place, and he tells her to be quiet, but every once in a while she'll say something. And the person that they're talking to answers back, and they have this like back and forth, nice little like conversation. And Peter's just like, told her to be quiet, like. And so he takes her back to her car and is like, "You go home." And just about that time, Vivi was showing up because they were going to talk to this person together. And she sees Vivi sees her getting out of the police car, so she like pretends like she lives in one of the houses, and she pulls in. And the police officer starts going away, and Vivi comes running over and is like, "Oh, I thought this guy had you hostage." And she's like, "No, but do you want to follow the police officer?" And so they follow the cop to a very shady part of town. And they hear some conversation happening, and they get caught, obviously, because they're not they're not good at this. And it's just one thing after another. And then Peter drags them to their car, straight to Vivi's car. And she's like, how did you know this was my car? And he's like, have you looked at this street? This car had to be yours. And so he sends them home, and finally they actually go home. And it's just so funny. So other things happen. And one of my favorite scenes is the lawyer that Kate had sent her publisher paperwork to, because she was like, okay, this guy's dead now. What happens to my stuff? So there's this whole conversation on the phone, and he's like, well, you need to get it back as soon as possible. But I am not telling you, at no point should you break in if there is no one there to let you in. But it is very important that you get your stuff back, but not illegally. I cannot tell you to do anything illegal. And she's like, got it. And she hangs up the phone and she turns to Vivi and she goes, I think my lawyer just said I should break in. So they do. And then they get kidnapped, which is kind of funny because he's the worst. He's not a good kidnapper. He didn't want to hurt them. But Vivi and Kate are both like, did you think that leaving her those warnings would really keep her from looking for you? Because that never, this is real life. It's not the movies. And, yeah. The end of the book is weird to me. I mean, it's a good end of the book. So, she has a lot of good things happen to her, like all back to back. After her kidnapping, she had to go to the hospital. They checked out her knees. They bandaged her hands. They were really scraped. They're worse than she thought they were. And her hands are really stiff and she can't really do anything with them. And so even answering her phone is a struggle. And she gets a lot of good news, and she's invited to a party to meet a agent. I had to look it up. I forgot the word. I was like, that word, the person that does things for you, make sure things are good. So she through Paige invites her to a little dinner party type thing and is like, bring a date. And this way, it'll be a low-key way to meet this guy. He's been a friend of the family for a long time. He'd be great for you. And he understands crochet. And she's like, awesome. And then she gets a call from, before that, she gets a call from the magazine publisher that she works with. And he's like, this was one of your best pieces that you sent in recently. And she's like, oh, thanks. And he's like, why do you sound so upset? And so she tells him everything that's happening. And he's like, oh, I have a friend. And so he's like, he's going to get that ball rolling. And so I'm assuming that the second book in this series will be about that. And so it's just like everything is like boom, boom, boom. Everything's happening. It's going to be good. It's going to be okay because she's really down. She's trying to figure out what she's going to do to make money. Because now how she was going to make most of her money has fallen through. And, yeah. So she's on cloud 9, but her hands are keeping her from doing stuff. So she's not going to be like, she was like, I guess I could crochet a few things and sell them to Paige's shop. Paige wants to do that. They had talked about it somewhere in the book. And she's like, but I can't crochet right now because my hands, and it's like, and I can't even drive right now because my knee, and like there's just so many things happening. So she's like all sad and depressed. She's like, how like how long will the money I have last? And she's trying to figure it out. Plus, she has to help her kid because her kid is in college, which I looked that up too. It's not a real college. Um, there is a Regency high school in Canada, I think it was, but there's not a Regency college in Texas. There's a Regent something or other, but it's not Regency. Um, anyway, and so she was like really down and sad before the magazine publisher called. And then when he was like, "You really should get yourself an agent," and she's like, "I think I know someone, or I can maybe talk to someone about that." And so then she hangs up with him and calls Paige. And then Paige is like, "Actually, I'm having this get together and he's going to be there and you should be there too and bring a date." And she's like, "Okay." And she's starting to feel a little like happier and like floatier. She's like, "This is going to work out." And then Peter comes to her door and he's trying to be like romantic and he helps her. He makes the coffee. He's like, "Let me wait on you," and stuff like that. And she's like, he like gets close to her, like he's gonna like hug her or kiss her or something. And she takes a step back and he's like, "Now I'm less happy. What's going on?" She's like, "I need someone that's not overbearing." She's like, "Hmm." And he's like, "Well, I was just really concerned for you because these are some really bad people." And she was like, "Yeah, but I'm an adult." And so they have this like nice little discussion about where they are in life. And he's like, she's like, "I need to take this very slow, really, really slow." And he's like, "Well, like, can I take you on dates?" She was like, "Yes. Every once in a while, a date would be nice." And he's like, "What if I stop by and have coffee with you? Does that count as a date?" She's like, "What are you going to do? Tally it up?" And he's like, "Do I need to?" They have this, it's just their relationship doesn't feel like it should be at this point because to us, they just met. Because there's no, like, we didn't have what happened before this. We don't know how that date went before this book. Also, at one point, he tells her to go home to her knitting, and she goes, "I don't knit, I crochet." And then she's like, "Mm." And like, so, I didn't tell you everything that happened in this book, but it was a really good book for what it was. For like a short little, just to get, this would be a nice book to read whenever you feel like you're in a slump. I think, like I said, the beginning was a little hard to get into, but once you got into it, it went pretty fast. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and comment below. Have you read this book or any of the other Annie mystery books? This is Annie Mysteries Unraveled, but like I said, there's other ones. So let me know what you thought. And if you want to be a part of any of my reading challenges, I'll leave some Google Docs in the description. That way you can print out your own and see if you can get through as many as I do. And what else do I need to talk about? Need to see if my grandma's read this one. She likes crochet. Uh-huh. If okay, so we are in June. So I'm starting to think about next year's reading challenge. And if I don't get through these books here, not that one or these right here, but those books standing up, they're going to roll over to next year's reading challenge because I want to read them. I want to read them. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. But if I don't get through them, they'll roll over because I've realized in the past that I've made reading challenges and I don't always finish them. There's always 2 or more books that I didn't finish off of the reading challenges, and I want to read the books. but then I make the next reading challenge and I never go back to the old books. So they're going to roll to the next. It's going to bloop to the next year. Hopefully I can read some of those, right? I mean, not all of those are going to move. But let me know if you have any books that should go on my reading challenge for next year. Whether it's an adult book, a middle grade book, a kid book, a teen book, any of those, anything. And I'll put it on my long TBR to do the wheel spinner thingy at the end of the year to make my new reading challenge for next year. Check out my other videos. If you haven't subscribed, you should check out my other videos. I do a lot of book videos. Got a lot of books, and I listen to a lot of books, and I sell kid books. And so books are kind of my life, and I might be someone that you're interested in watching. So check out my channel and share this video because sharing is caring, especially if you know someone who is a crocheter, because I think this book would be good for them. That is all I have to talk about. I'm going to finish my coffee and probably edit this video. So I will see you on my next video. Bye!